Well, hi everyone. The first video that I kind of wanted to get into here today was kind of an interesting topic because uh, I put it up on my Facebook page here a while ago, and the comment was, "Family can be very hazardous to your health and well-being." And I thought it was kind of interesting that I kind of said that because what I'm finding out is there seem to be, I don't quite know how to put it. There seem to be, at least coming across my uh, shall we say, world of connections. So a lot of people who have been, kind of singled out, if you will, as the one in the family, the who seems to take on all of the patterns and the vibrations of the family, as it were, and having to kind of work them out on their own kind of deal. And they're mentioning about they're feeling overload, and some of them have been talking about working out some pretty deep, some pretty smelly, some pretty trauma, uh, victimhood, abuse, going under emotional, mental, physical, and even at a sexual level. And I kind of wanted to make this video for them because I can assure you that you don't need to feel alone if you're kind of in this capacity where you're taking on this stuff and you're manifesting it. There are a lot of people out there who are doing similar things. And I know for myself, speaking from my own experience, I have a couple of other brothers and three sisters. And I've watched as they've, because I'm the oldest in the family, I get the wherewithal to be able to, watch the patterns and the stuff that they went through because it's kind of interesting. My mom manifested myself and my brother in one marriage and then four other children in another one. So I get to watch from two different perspectives of two different families, two different soul groups, so to speak. And I see a combination of the input of both fathers but one mother into two different manifestations of children in the same bloodline. And it's rather interesting to see that in my perspective from my original father's side of the fence, as my brother and I both manifested problems with alcohol, problems with self-esteem, self-worth, and especially a state of confusion in regards to a relationship, because relationship with a female from my father's perspective was always very abusive, very dominating. And I've always tried to go completely the other way to be as opening and understanding as I could with the limitations that I was endowed with to female relationships or partners that I've had over the years. And it's been very difficult and challenging for me in the sense that if you don't have a lot of tools to work with and you don't have any understanding and you're kind of winging it, after a while it can be very frustrating. And I have to admit I made a lot of mistakes along the way in trying to, in my own way, kind of, I didn't even know at the time, this is all happening prior to my, what I call the spiritual awakening. And I tried to do this just by bumbling along without really knowing what I was doing, but probably intuitively at that time giving it my best. And what I found out is because I was doing it that way, what happened to me is I got turned around the other way. And instead of being a male taking advantage of females, I found myself in a situation of a male being taken advantage of by females. And, I kind of looked at it and said to myself after a while, well, you know, is this one way of kind of balancing things out by going to an extreme like this? Whereas my brother, on the other hand, from my original father, he went completely the other way as the dominance, as it were, and totally got involved with the alcohol side of it, which was very dominant because my mother and father were both alcoholics. Not to the sense that they were drinking every day. Okay, let me impart that. They would have this lifestyle of party, party, party on the weekends or days off, and sometimes during the week whenever possible. The only thing that prevented them, I think, from doing it all the time was money. And I noticed my brother went the other way. He just couldn't keep a relationship going because he was too bitter and followed too much in the pattern of our original father. And then I take a look at my mom when she remarried yet again and had more children. And I noticed that in both of these situations, my father, it was obviously in the Second World War. So obviously he came back suffering from PSTD or whatever you call it, post-traumatic stress. And I had to take into consideration that my mother was a war bride also, and that she was in the bombings in London when it was going on. So she would be under the same category. And lo and behold, when they broke up and my mother remarried, she got married to another person who was a soldier, and he definitely was not playing with a full deck. And the children, as they grew into adulthood, had all kinds of problems with drugs and mental. I noticed as my mother got older, the mental issues, or the mental issues became in combination with the emotional, the anxiety, the agoraphobia, the constant agitation of the physical because of the concern of worry and such emotions as that actually made her health decline rather quickly, and she passed away at 58, which is not very old and by today's standards. And my brother, who passed away at 54, committed suicide by alcohol. And I noticed that my mother's first child from her second husband developed all of the attributes that she did of the mental and emotional type, and is, I believe now to be, I don't know what condition she is because I haven't talked to her in a while or even been around her. But with one of my sisters, I'm well aware that she was addicted to crack cocaine. So I don't know where that situation is now, but it's interesting to follow the pattern. So you can see through this bloodline or this situation, and I'm aware of it because of the dream state that I've been, how do you call it, funneling this stuff through and having to work through it in that sense of feeling, in many cases, the emotion and not knowing what the emotional feeling is about or where it's coming from, or having dream states that are, shall we say, symbolic, but not to the sense that you can relate to it to a person by name, but by a situation that would come up, and you relate to it that way by feeling perhaps what they're feeling at a conscious level. So what I can say to you is this, is I believe that I felt with my sister, who was a crack cocaine addict, I believe I have felt the state of consciousness or the state of mind and the state of being of her in my waking state timeline limited consciousness, and had to kind of flow through that. So what I'm saying to you is there's a whole bunch of people out there in the spiritual community who are doing this, and not necessarily, let me put it this way, it's not something you really volunteered for per se. Some of you did, but a lot of you didn't. It's just that your spiritual awakening and the opening of your heart center, and as you have evolved and grown, you have, how do I say it, put yourself in a situation where you have developed some character, you've developed some strength in spite of what you think that you're not strong or whatever, but you have developed some depth, and you've developed some soul muscles, if you want to call it that, and you find yourself in situations where you're doing this. Admittedly, it's not a lot of fun. And I also can say when you're doing it when you're older and having to deal with your own spiritual, puberty or phase that you're going through, it can be even more tricky for you to kind of try to unravel. So what I've done is to keep my sanity going, and I suggest this to most of you, is when you are experiencing something that you deem might be something along the line that I'm talking about, where you're experiencing what you believe is a template or an issue with your family. It could be actually a physical condition, it could be an emotional, it could be mental. It could be, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, you don't know where they're coming from. It could be, dream states. It could be drawing situations to you that perhaps were in your parental. Let me rephrase that part. You could be drawing situations to you which would have been similar to what your parents may have been drawing to themselves to correct a situation, or shall we say, a blockage or impediment with themselves, but because they were unable to because of their present condition, the same situation would come up for you, similar to what they did, so that you could deal with the situation, and you would look back and you might say, well, why the hell is this happening to me? It has no connection or relevance to me. So this is what I would be suggesting is going on for you, that this is exactly what's happening, is you could be drawing a situation to you in regards to the family issue. It's the same thing again with physical conditions, okay? Is you can, let me put it this way. Originally, when you begin your spiritual awakening, you can go through that phase of connecting with another person to initiate it. You can have a Kundalini awakening, and you can have the heart center activation. And what happens is at that point, it's all about you, okay? It truly is. So you would manifest all of the symptoms, all of the aches and pains and lumps and bumps that would be pertained to you individually, without any condiments, if I can put it that way, from any influences in your family or your bloodline. And as you go through the sorting process and you kind of get yourself into balance, and what I mean by that is a balance of masculine and feminine, which is why the person showed up in your life, to achieve that balance of masculine and feminine. You would then, as you develop the character, the strength of character, you might say, well, geez, I really feel vulnerable, that I'm not really capable of doing this, and I don't know, why this is happening. But when the heart center activates, you do become, through the manifestation of this, we call it unconditional love, but I like to call it source energy. Whether we are aware or not, at an inner level, at a soul level, at a higher self level, we do become a lot stronger. We do become emotionally more stable. And we do become mentally much stronger, because what will happen along the way, as many of you may have noticed this, is as you personally were going through initially in the beginning your own growth and cleansing and purging and evolving at an individual level, you may have noticed creative abilities may have become very, very enhanced within you. So at that particular point, what would have happened then, as the character and the personality and the psychological makeup of you changed, you would notice then that you would be able to take on the other person's stuff, or the bloodline, or the family tree, or parents, or whatever, and kind of evolve through it. So look at it this way: if you have a relatively small family, okay, and you don't have too many brothers and sisters, and if your parents, relatively speaking, had a good relationship, then you wouldn't be experiencing that much. But as we know, at this particular point, relationships have been in trouble for a long period of time. There is a misalignment, and there's a misunderstanding, and there is a complete changeover had been necessitated in the aspect of, especially the concept of love and relationship. So as that comes into perspective and balance for you, it may have meant the ending of a relationship or a marriage or even any kind of friendship you may have had with another person. And then you get in a situation where you can do this for individuals in your family. And at the same time, I might add, there would be a situation where you would become more empathic. That's part of your creativity. And as you become more empathic and more sensitive, not only would you be picking up sometimes on just the stuff within the family, which would be very dominant for a period of time, you would then start picking up stuff from friends and associates and whatever. And at this particular point is probably a time when you want to kind of alienate yourself and become somewhat of a recluse out of necessity, initially in the beginning. And then as you continue on with the reclusiveness of your lifestyle, you actually begin to enjoy the company of yourself more. And as you understand this, that you are not the victim of karma, okay, as some people like to call it. You're simply the recipient or the, shall we say, the channel in a particular environment, or a particular family or a particular bloodline that can actually manifest this and cleanse it and purge it through. The one thing that I would suggest to any of you who find yourself in this kind of a situation is to, and it may be a little tricky at first, but I'm sure you can manage it. I found it in my best interest to connect with a few other people of like-minded spirit, okay? And they don't have to be in the neighborhood. They can be on the other side of the planet. It can be through whatever social media platform that you choose to use. And it won't be that hard to find. And, find someone, male or female, that you resonate with, and try to set up a connection so that you can have some kind of shall we say, a feedback or an input or a second opinion or someone else who's just doing and experiencing the same thing that you are. It will increase your comfortability within yourself and to understand that there's not something wrong with you. One of the things that I've gotten many times from quite a few people is, you're doing this kind of thing where you're experiencing all of this stuff and you feel like you're alone. You feel like you're being, kind of the victim, and you're not kind of being a victim. You begin to question your own sanity as to saying, well, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening? It's just, and you can really get into a dither about it if you don't have some kind of feedback to be able to do that and to share with people these kinds of things that are going on with them at this particular point in time. So the other thing that I wanted to mention here just before, I'm going to make this video a short one to the first one because I just want to see how it goes. It's going to kind of work for people. And I'll be interested in the comments that come with it, kind of thing. So I'm going to leave you kind of with this message at the end, of the video here. And it's this, is the one thing that I've done that has worked very well for me is understanding that also with all of this that's going around, I've been given something that can assist me, and that is the heart center chakra. Many of you may have had the heart center chakra active in your chest for a while. You can feel the sensation, you feel it opening, feel it closing. And then all of a sudden, you don't feel it anymore. And you say, well, what happens? It's gone? No, it's not gone. Your body, your etheric body, your physical, your emotional, and your mental body have adapted to it. So what happens is you can go back whenever you feel like you need assistance or guidance within, or you want to kind of be involved with somebody and something's happening, you're picking up on stuff. You can always do a short little meditation, only take 2 or 3 minutes. Just sit back if you don't meditate, and simply close your eyes, refocus your attention to the heart center chakra, the area where it is. You may want to visualize it as a flower or a pyramid or a big sun ball, like one of my favorite ones is the sun ball, and just kind of feel the experience that you're going through. visualize the experience that you're going through, and just kind of peruse it with the heart center. And what will happen is the heart center filters the visualization or what you're seeing, if I can put it that way. It will give you understanding and knowing, and further information will come to you through the mental aspect of yourself, and you'll get greater clarity. And I find that has worked so effectively for me, and I really recommend that you give it a bash, okay, and try it that way. Okay, I'm going to end the video here. Have a great day, everybody, and I will definitely be back with more videos to hopefully help you and give you insights on the pathway going forward. Have a great day.